This time on episode 178 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to talk about Luke Cage, episode named Take It Personal.
I'm Chris from the Starling Tribune, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual host. Check out all the other great podcasts at GonnaGeek.com, and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You have been granted clearance by Director Phil Coulson. Stand by for S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Director Stargate Pioneer.
And I'm Agent Haley.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Comic Universe fan show. The show is recorded on Wednesday, May 31st, 2017. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel's Daredevil Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist on Netflix, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the Marvel Comic Universe in general.
Because Luke smash!
If you'd like to talk to us about Luke smashing things, you can find us on our website at legendsofshield.com.
You can call our voicemail line, 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871.
If you'd like to talk to us about Luke Cage smashing stuff again, we have a Facebook page at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Podcast, and Haley and Lauren will be glad to catch you over there because I've been banned from Facebook.
Ask him what he did to get banned. You can hit us up on Twitter at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Our video companions, where we talk about Luke Cage smashing things, can be found at youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
And remember, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek.com network. So this week, we're discussing Take It Personal, and this episode was directed by Stephen Surjik, which might be how you say his name. He has 50 directing credits, starting in 1985. He did one episode of Kids in the Hall. He directed the cinematic masterpiece, Wayne's World 2, an episode of The X-Files, 2 episodes of Monk, 1 of Eureka, 1 of No Ordinary Family, 1 of Warehouse 13, 10 of Burn Notice, 1 Arrow, 1 The Flash, 2 Jessica Jones, 3 Daredevil, 7 Person of Interest, 1 Designated Survivor, 1 Iron Fist, and this episode of Luke Cage. So he's got a little bit of comic book TV cred. And he was also a producer for Intelligence, Warehouse 13, Common Law, Burn Notice, and the Romeo section.
Woohoo! Burn Notice! Steven, you are my hero. That was an excellent series and ended very well, too. I don't know if he had anything to do with the ending, but if you did great. By the way, the writer for this episode is Jason Horwitch. He has 8 directing credits, and the only 2 that I found remotely interesting for this show, to my knowledge at least, are 2 episodes of Luke Cage. This one, and Just to Get a Rep, which we have already discussed. Also, Jason is a producer for Medical Investigation, Rubicon, Southland, and Luke Cage, so it's great having the producers actually write for the show. This is an interesting pair, Stephen and Jason, but I think they pulled it off just fine. What do you think, Haley?
It's a good episode.
It is.
It's where everything comes out.
Everything does come out, and Take It Personal. What do you think that title actually means?
Well, a couple of things in this episode are being taken personal. We've got Misty Knight still kind of reeling from her encounter with Diamondback. She took that very personally. She's very committed to finding him and making him pay. We've got the police officers in general taking personally the death of one of their own and taking justice into their own hands in a way that is not productive or beneficial. And we've got Luke Cage taking personally, his betrayal by Reva. And you've got Diamondback taking personal the treatment of him and his mother by Luke's father.
geez, everybody's all wound up so tight, just taking everything personal. I think that's what makes this a superhero show, because without it, I don't think we'd have a lot of action because there'd be no motivation for anybody.
Yeah.
So take it personal. This was a great personal episode. It is the 10th episode out of 13. So we have 3 more to discuss. And a little spoiler, we'll be discussing the next one next week. So we'll have only 2 after that. But so this is setting up what I think is the final and third act in the entire run. I think they did an excellent job at it. I was captivated to it. I actually watched the episode twice before we podcasted on it. First one, I just thought I would sit back, relax, and just watch it just for the fun of it. And I'm glad I did, because from the start, it was great. I have to ask you, though, Haley, when I was watching it the first time and the second time, really, when I noticed that Willis, Stryker, the Diamondback with the isotoner glove of death, punches the officer and throws him all the way back to those boxes, because we all know that it's just boxes laying around Harlem for officers to crash into. I noticed that Misty was standing right there, and actually, I thought the first time that was actually her there real time. And I was fooled.
I think I was the first time too. It took me a second to remember, like, how she processes crime scenes. I was like, what are the odds?
It was crazy and well acted the entire episode for everybody, including that. I love when Misty is actually in the crime scene. And I don't think we actually see the crime scene without her there, at least during the action. So it must be fun for her to film these scenes where she's there, but she's not really there. So she must have to go in and out per take. I have no idea how they did it, but I can imagine being on set. Okay, it's time for you to come over here. Oh no, you got to go sit back. Go to your trailer. So I don't know. Kind of fun. All right, Haley, we got a lot of great episode highlights to run through. Where do you want to start?
Where do we want to start? I think we should start at the beginning. I think we should start in the lab with Claire being a total badass. But you know, I don't quite buy that she just happened to nail perfectly that he's just exactly like whatever those seashell things are.
Those
like,
abalone shells.
There you go. He had that written down, and that's how much he struggled with it, guys.
I had to find it on the page. I was going by memory and was like, oh, where are they?
Sure. Sure.
It was in a different section than what we were talking about.
Like, she had figured out an episode or 2 ago that, you know, his skin behaved like abalone shells. And then in this episode, it's just assumed that his skin is exactly like abalone shells. So however they would react to anything, that's how his skin is going to react. So that's what they should do. And I felt like that was a leap that wasn't really justified.
Well, let's take a look at what Claire is. She's a badass in the ER. That's what she does best. She takes care of situations head on. This was an emergency situation. This is when her brain is heightened.
Defibrillate a guy by throwing electronics into an acid bath with him. It's fine. Science, medicine, it works that way.
You got to try something. This is medicine that she has to perform. She's already worked on the guy or tried to work on the guy once before. It kind of worked and nothing else is working right now. So you just got to try stuff. Otherwise the dude's going to die. This is desperation mode. This is not her precognition of, oh, this is what I'm going to have to do. This is like, he's dying. I need to do something. I'm just going to throw the toaster in the bathtub because I've seen Groundhog Day and I know that works.
I wish they had justified her actions a little more. Like, this is why she should do this in this moment. So yeah, she's thinking on her feet, but it's, you know, like there's a little more reason for her to do the things she does. That's what I wish.
Well, the temperature was something that was brought forward.
That was good.
And the abalone shell, she did investigation into those shells on the computer before. So this is a little bit premeditated with that. The one thing that I guess you would just know because it's common sense, don't throw electronics into a bath, even if it's acid. I do have an issue with that, by the way. So Luke Cage, after it's all said and done, you know, he gets up and she just throws the mask, I have no idea what respirator mask or whatever, into the acid bath behind Luke. So it's getting eaten alive. I guess it's unusable anyway, since it was underneath the acid. But then she just grabs behind him with no thought to getting splashed with the acid bath on her unexposed arm, because that glove only goes so high, and she's holding.
It goes like elbow high.
Yeah.
And he is covered in acid as well.
Yeah. So that was a little too, maybe the acid was made inert by the salt water. I don't know.
Don't think that's how that works.
I don't either. So I was just throwing that out there. Maybe that's what the writers thought. I don't know, but it was very poorly executed at the end. It was like, okay, so we've gotten past it. Who cares what happens? Well, I care. Get them up by the same apparatus that you threw them in there. Take the winch and get them on out. Don't touch them. Don't touch the stuff. You're going to get burned.
You put him on like the thing that raises and lowers him, like maybe use that to pull him out of the bath.
Right. The little basket of life that comes down from the Coast Guard helicopters in Deadliest Catch. I know what that thing is.
Yeah. Everyone has one of those in their garage, right?
It's not really a garage. It's more like a barn. And did you see, like, the barn wasn't actually completely together? You know, they had the big open slats in there. I don't really think that's a barn. That's more like I don't know. It's very windy in there, probably.
It's designed to look like an old dilapidated barn, but it doesn't even have really that structural integrity.
I think it would have to if Luke did as much as he did to it and it's still standing. It had to have some sort of structural integrity. Otherwise, the whole thing would have fallen over.
When he started taking down those beams, that's when it should have come crashing down. Those aren't decorative. Like,
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking the only thing left in there is going to be the tractor under a bunch of rubble. But no, there's more that survives. The data survives. We have our mad scientist of Luke Cage.
Luke goes on this tirade, whatever. He goes through tearing up this hard. He goes through tearing up this barn, like smashing all these beams, but he doesn't smash up the computer with all the data on it. Like,
because it's not going to function if the building is got a big hole in it. We don't have to worry about that.
That's dumb.
They were all worried about him having the data, and they just left the data there. Somebody has rage issues.
Well, no, I think they took the flash drive, but he had copied the data onto his hard drive.
Oh.
That's what he was doing. He hooked the hard drive up to another computer and was reading the data off
Which
of that.
is smart, by the way. It's what I do. I've got 10 gazillion hard drives in here that I back up all my data to. Then I take some data to a geographically separated area so that if something like a tornado happens to hit me.
That would never happen.
That would never happen. It never almost happened last week. It just did not happen. But then I would be able to recoup, because let's just think this through. If a tornado actually hit the Stargate Pioneer studios, even if there was nothing wrong with the equipment, the ensuing torrent of rain, which always accompanies a tornado, is just going to come crashing in here and ruin any electronics, no matter if it's in a case or not. So all the data is gone. That's why you need a geographically separated place to store your data. SP's little data storage tip of the day, I guess. But you gotta hand it to the good scientist, mad scientist, whatever you want to call him, Dr. Bernstein. He was thinking ahead. He took that copy and he put it underneath the barn.
No, that's not what happened. It was the hard drive that was in the computer they had been using.
I thought it was a laptop. That hard drive was not a laptop hard drive.
Whatever. But anyways, he hooked it up to his Mac and read the hard drive. Which
is completely doable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Without any power going to it. I didn't see any powered connection there. When you boot up a 3.5 inch hard drive disk, the big one, you need to provide power to it. The little ones, the 2.5 inch, you don't necessarily need to power them up. But the big ones, yeah, you do. Just saying.
Anyways.
SP's little data rant of the episode.
Had a little rant in him.
So I don't know if we're going to see Dr. Bernstein again or not. I think we will, because we've left him here, and I've got my eye on Dr. Bernstein. You're doing something completely stupid, because that's what good scientists do.
See, I was thinking this time when I watched it, not last time, but this time I thought it would have been awesome if they'd brought back the scientist from the Incredible Hulk movie.
I know.
And had him be that guy.
That would have been
like he was
perfect.
all of this was because he was trying to recreate the effects of, or the Hulk serum or whatever. And so they were trying all this stuff to make superhumans.
It's like it's the same guy, but the other guy, he was morphed at the end of that movie. He wasn't the same guy anymore. Well,
except we didn't see him completely transform. So you could just say, whatever effect it had on him, it was just like a latent ability or something that, they could deal with it later if they wanted to make him be the leader, which I don't think they will do. Or just, the effects were not permanent.
I sense somebody was watching a little bit too much of the Arrow season finale and discovering that Murukuru can leave your system after years of super use.
Magic, got it.
Fair enough. But yeah, it's the same guy. It's just the Dr. Blue or whatever his name was in The Incredible Hulk. His head, he was big. It was head.
Right, because that guy becomes the leader who is green and has a big head, and he's like the Hulk, except instead of strong, he's smart.
But this guy didn't have a big head, nor was he green, so it can't be the same guy.
I know. I'm saying it could be the scientist trying to recreate the Hulk formula, and then maybe later he becomes the leader because he figures it out. Figures something out. Science.
That would be a long play for Marvel if they did that. That would be great, but it would have been a long play.
But they won't, because they didn't bring that guy back. This is a different guy.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and I just heard this a couple of weeks ago, but Marvel doesn't actually own, and I think we've talked about it on the podcast before too, but Marvel doesn't own the rights to a solo Hulk movie, so would they own the rights to the leader?
I don't know about that. The thing with the Hulk is, I think it's Paramount.
I want to say Universal.
I can't remember. It's Paramount or it's Universal. I know it's one of those two. But anyways, they have first option at distribution rights for any Hulk movie.
So if you make one, you have to offer it to them?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Then they can pass on it or not. But if Hulk is like the title character, they have distribution rights. Otherwise...
I would not. If I was Disney, that would make no sense. I mean, the Spider-Man thing barely makes sense for a lot of other reasons, but not a solo Hulk movie. I was trying
to explain to my brother, like, how much money the Spider-Man movie has to make it worth it for Sony to keep sharing with Marvel. And he was not getting it. He was like, well, it's a lot of money, so what does it matter? It's like, because you divide a lot of money in half and you get half as much money.
I know. It's rough. It's rough. However, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is doing pretty good in the theaters. Right. I guess its run is going to be about done. At least it outdid Baywatch on Memorial Day weekend. Baywatch, I think, they were supposed to pull in 26 million. I think they did 22 million. I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 pulled in 26 million, but they're just knocking it out of the park internationally. I'm really curious, jumping the streams again into DC, really curious this weekend what Wonder Woman's going to do. And we'll just, view it from the outside and see how it goes. But
how many times are you going to see it this weekend?
At least once, if not twice. It depends. I am going Saturday night. That is the main plan time. Mm-hmm. I might go Friday night after Better Podcasting. And for those of you that don't know, we're actually going to be discussing Wonder Woman a couple days from now on Starling Tribune the Sunday after it comes out. So if you happen to hear this live or in the days before Sunday, June, 3rd? I got that date wrong, didn't I? June 4th, Sunday, June 4th at 1:00. We will be discussing Wonder Woman at Geeks.live on the Starling Tribune. And coming back to Marvel, though, I am very curious how much money that a Hulk movie would have to make, as you just said, but they don't.
The Hulk movies have never performed the way some of these other movies do, though.
Right. And they don't have to make money with Netflix. They're like printing money with these Netflix series. I guess Iron Fist is, the exception, but everything else, they're just knocking it out of the park. So Marvel's doing some stuff gooder than DC.
More gooder.
All right. So let's move back into the more gooder Luke Cage, and let's talk Reva, because I was amazed how much Reva action there actually was in this show. I was thinking that we might get a flashback or two, but we got a lot into the background of Reva, who she was, what she was actually doing.
Yeah, she was all the way involved in the experiments that were going on at the prison. She was the reason Luke got tagged for the project. She was helping them manipulate him to get him where they needed him to be for him to be the right subject for this project.
Riva was there for the purpose, for the specific project, and as the good scientist Dr. Bernstein said, Riva lied to everybody. Everybody. Yep. And you had these flashbacks of her like thanking Luke Cage, and you thought, well, maybe that was her little redemption arc, but she did a lot of bad to get there.
She did a lot of bad things, but in the end, she did love him, and she did, throw away everything to save him.
I don't think Luke knows that at this point in time. I think at the end of this episode, he feels completely betrayed and like his love was misplaced.
I think he knows that she loved him and that at the end she was acting for him. But what he hadn't known was her actions up to that point, like how much she was involved with this. She wasn't just like a passive participant or something. She was actively involved in all the things they were doing. She knew what was going on and she went in with her eyes open.
What got me about the relationship with Luke Cage and Riva was that Luke said that he was in love with the idea of Riva, but not Riva specifically. That's why I said I don't know where he stands at the end of the episode. I don't think that he's in the same mindset.
Because there were a lot of things that he didn't know about her. It's hard to deal with that. Like finding out all these things that you didn't know about somebody that you thought you knew, that you could trust, and finding out that that wasn't the case. That's where he's at right now.
I was going to say something, and I'm not going to say it because
okay,
I'm not going to open that door right now, but okay. We'll take that as it. Listener, if you have something to say about Riva and Luke Cage's relationship as it stands now, as of the 10th episode of Luke Cage, Take It Personal, you can get a hold of us at all the great ways, including our voicemail line at 844-THE-BUS-1 or 844-843-2871. Let's move on in the individuals that we are talking about. Misty, she had quite the thread this episode.
Yeah, she, when we start, she's real focused on finding who she doesn't know is Diamondback at the time, but she's really focused on finding him, getting some sweet, sweet vengeance. And recognizing also while she's doing this that some bad things are going down in Harlem around her.
She's concerned about what's going down with the police force in general, but she's really concerned about the lack of crime bosses. Like she seems to know that they've been taken out, or at least
she's the only one that notices it at the time. Everyone else is preoccupied with the dead officer and finding Luke Cage, and they're missing a lot of other important things that are happening around them. But she doesn't miss anything. She sees everything.
And she tries to talk to her boss, the Inspector Priscilla Ridley. Inspector Ridley, we'll just call her that. And she tries to talk to her about that. And the inspector is so focused on the tragedies going around her within the police force and trying to find Luke Cage that she's blinded to absolutely everything else, as you just said. And there's just a lot of rage that she's dealing with the police force, with the community. And then she has this travesty. You touched upon it last episode, and it was there last episode. I can only think that you were also leading into a discussion on this episode. There is some bad things going on with the police force, and the police force taking liberties with their power over people in interrogations, in violence, and stuff like that.
Yeah, police brutality is very much a part of the end of this series. Season of this series. And police brutality is always terrible, and we've kind of touched on that before, but I want to talk about exactly how stupid that one cop is. Like, he pulls in this kid, a minor, and is questioning him without any guardians or legal representation present, and the kid tells him his mother is a lawyer, and he still roughs him up in the interrogation room. Like, how dumb does that guy have to be? How did he make detective?
It wasn't just the mother was a lawyer. The kid was detailing everything. I was doing nothing when you pulled me in. I was at, what was he at? Chess club? I can't remember.
I was coming home from chess club. I'm not a gangbanger. Like, laying it out for him. Like, this is what's going to happen when this goes to Facebook and people are posting this.
And I want my phone call.
I'm telling you, dude.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look out for you. And this cop is just such an idiot.
He is blinded by her. I think part of the reason, though, was the Officer Jackie. I can't remember his last name right now, but Officer Jackie was his training instructor, I think. So he had a personal connection with the officer that was taken down. So there was some of that. And I think that's where the police differ from something like the FBI or some other organization, where you can remove the individual that's in direct line of sight with the issue of what's going on, and you can bring in somebody that hopefully is going to be a little bit more impartial. We're talking about a whole community event like this. The police force is what you've got. So your only recourse is to call in the state troopers or call in the National Guard, and that it escalates the entire situation to a level that you don't want to. So you try to take care of it with your own police force, but if the police force is too involved in the emotions of the event, they can make some really stupid mistakes.
Right. Well, and something like the FBI is not part of a community that they're policing. They're more abstract than that. They've got their lens is wider. Police departments are supposed to be part of the communities that they police. That's how the system is supposed to work. So when they're policing things that more directly involve them, of course there's going to be conflict. Of course we need some sort of outside investigatory unit to deal with it, but they don't want somebody else to deal with it. Like, this is one of their own. They want to deal with it. And that's how you end up with like these tribal warfare battles in a community.
Right. And both Misty and Priscilla have warned the people around them that you're supposed to be part of the community. You're not supposed to be oppressing the community. So we'll unfortunately see this unfold, as you just mentioned. I knew it wasn't over with because the whole thing with the kid didn't end. So that is, and the poor kid, I mean, I know it was all makeup and we didn't actually see the kid getting beat up, but that poor kid, that I don't ever want to see a kid in that situation. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what the color of your skin is. I don't care what your gender is. No kid should have to go through what that kid did in that box with that detective.
Right. And then after that, we get the scene where we've got 4 characters coming into a room. They're all coming in with their own motivations. They're all distinct characters that have been established up to this point, and they all happen to be Black women. And I didn't really think about it the first time. I was just like, oh, these are characters we've seen up to this point. This is cool. It's just a scene. But I noticed it this time. Like, that is what representation is supposed to look like. You know, we don't have a Black woman that represents all Black women. We've got 4 Black women who are just their own people. And, you know, their gender is not defining them in that moment. Their race, a little bit because of the situation, but that's not the defining characteristic of them. It's, you know, this is their story up to this point, and that's what is driving the scene. And I thought that was really cool.
This whole series has been really cool with the diversity factor in there. And I'm really excited to see the last 3 episodes. Now, we've touched upon it before. We're going to touch upon it again. Diamondback, he's maniacal. He's just off his
dude is
board.
a little unhinged.
Just a little. He's got a whole armory where he's ready to unload the entire armory on Harlem just to sink enough bullets into Luke Cage to do some damage.
Yep. You don't need to kill God with one shot to sell a weapon. You just need to make him bleed.
See, and that's where I get a little bit confused as to his motivations. Is he trying to make money, or is he trying to take care of Luke Cage, or is he trying to do both?
Both.
Okay.
His primary goal is to take down Luke Cage, but if he can make some money while he's doing it, he's all for that.
And then with I keep going back to it. The isotoner moment, the glove. Where do you think he got that?
Hammer Tech.
I was thinking maybe it's some, well, I guess that's what Hammer Tech is. I was just going to go, it looked like Tony. Oh my gosh. We're us and words tonight are not great. Lauren, we need you back. By the way, Lauren could not join us tonight. She had something going on, and she does intend on being back next week. She kind of blew over that at the beginning. Sorry, Lauren, but she does intend to be back. Anyway, with Lauren here, words are a better issue. Anyway, I thought it was Tony Stark Tech, but that's what Hammer Tech is. It's just ripped off Stark Tech. Yeah,
it's knockoff stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you can get an Iron Man suit, but he could get like a glove that makes him punch real hard.
And he did. Woo.
Yep. This episode, like you mentioned, this is the start of the third act. So I feel like the second act begins, or the first act ends, with Cottonmouth's death and Diamondback coming in and taking a more major role. This really starts like the drive towards the end of the season. This episode.
Yeah, I could see the glove coming back as well in a fight with Luke Cage. And, well, I don't know. I legitimately haven't seen the rest of the episodes. I've been taking one episode at a time, but you can see some of the stuff that's going forward. And unlike Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they don't let stuff just lie there on these Netflix stories. And
well, they've got, 9 fewer episodes this season. They don't have time to let stuff simmer.
No, they do not. This is as close as you're going to get this episode to a one-off sidetrack episode, filler episode. And it wasn't filler. It was all good.
No, it was kind of an info dump episode.
Right.
Like, not necessarily new information for the audience, but the characters all kind of learned new information in this episode.
Well, we certainly did. We learned that Riva, what her actual intentions were. We learned, what else did we learn? We learned a lot, dang it. We learned how to
some things were confirmed. Like, I feel like at this point you suspected that Riva was probably more involved than she initially said. We had been told that Willis was Luke Cage's brother, but Luke Cage didn't believe it yet.
No, and we found the backstory. We learned the backstory that his father, the Reverend, had a little side action going on with the secretary, which, when you think about it, he didn't think he was ever going to have a kid with his wife, so he might have wanted to. It's still a dick move, don't get me wrong, but he might have wanted to have a kid, and the secretary was there and available. So, like I said,
I don't think it was so much that he intentionally wanted to have a kid as just the secretary was there and available.
Either way, secretary was there and available, and Willis happened. And Willis was older, right? Willis was older by 2 years?
Willis, was 2 years older.
Yeah. And even though that is true, Luke accepts responsibility for his brother, and he says, I am my brother's keeper. That was a powerful statement there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the gunfight at the end at the Harlem's Paradise during the middle of the, I guess, peace rally, because that's what Mariah was really touting it as, a peaceful, nonviolent rally, and then all of a sudden just riddled with bullets everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much the last, 3-4 minutes of this episode is just shooting.
And Luke doesn't seem like he's been impacted at all. I don't think these are the Judas bullets, or they're not doing what
No. These are just like, people are shooting these with handguns.
Oh, there was a couple of semi-automatic rifles going
whatever. On. Anyways, no Judas bullets yet.
Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to point out, and we talked about this gentleman, Clark Jackson, as the actor a couple of episodes ago, coming in and really taking it to Mariah, and then he thought the whole thing was over, and then Mariah comes back, and all of a sudden he's got to appear again. He's seeing right through Mariah, tells her she cannot be trusted. She fires right back, and I don't need trust. I've got the power.
Yep.
That's it. So I'm out of ammo here. Are you out of ammo?
I think so. Just a couple other things that the characters learned. Misty learned Diamondback's identity, and she also learned Luke Cage's true identity in this episode.
That's right. I forgot about that. Carl.
Yep. So this is a very much getting all the cards out on the table type of episode. I was gonna say, this is the kind of thing you usually get before, like, the intense final run at the end of a season.
Right. I don't know about you, but if I ever run into Luke Cage, I'm never calling him Carl. Ever. Not gonna happen. I don't want my barn.
Carl. What happened to the barn, Carl?
All right. And that's it for our discussion of the episode, but we've got a bonus for you because Haley has some quotes.
Always. Power doesn't travel.
That's interesting, because I think power does travel, but it doesn't travel from person to person.
Who are you?
That was an interesting time.
It's called having a boyfriend.
That was funny. And I was noticing a little bit of tension, but a little bit of non-tension, by the way, between Luke and Ziclair. And I'm not...
Did you pick up on that?
I did. Definitely there was some going, but I don't know where it's going eventually. So I'm just not sure.
Even if you don't trust me, trust the fighter in me.
That was a great statement by Claire. That really was, because I would trust the fighter in her for anything. Like if I had to go against the IRS, I would totally take her on board knowing that I would lose because she doesn't know anything about tax law.
Should figure it out. That woman over in Hell's Kitchen snapped a man's neck because he was mind controlling her.
Yes, the callback to Jessica Jones.
I kind of wish they'd thrown a reference to Daredevil in there as well, but missed opportunity.
I think they already have a couple episodes ago.
No, I mean, just specifically in that scene, if she's talking about the threat of all these new super people, like she should have thrown out something about Daredevil.
Yeah, she should.
Who needs trust when you have power?
There it is again. A lot of power references in this episode.
Well, trust and power were both big discussion points in this episode. But that's it for me.
Sweet! I'm loving this series, and I'm glad we are continuing to go through it. Sorry to our audience that it's taken us so long. When did this come out? Last October?
Yes.
No,
September.
September. That's a month worse. And it is now at the end of May. This is May 31st when we're recording this, so it's shortly going to be June. So let's do a
whole nother Netflix Marvel series has come out since this one that we haven't discussed at all.
And I haven't even touched that one yet. And we have is it FX or Fox? Legion.
FX.
The FX program, Legion, we haven't touched that either. And after going through a season, I'm much more comfortable talking about the first few episodes. If I was talking about those episodes the first time through, I would be like, huh?
It would just been less going like, huh? Wait, what?
Did you understand it? I didn't.
No, good. Me neither.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're actually getting that opportunity with Legion. And stay tuned for our schedule. It's going to change for the rest of the summer. But for now, for at least one more week, we'll be on next Wednesday and we will be talking Luke Cage, season 1, episode 11. Now You're Mine. And with that, we're going to walk this one out. I want to thank everybody that has been downloading. We had another record month in May of 2017. So thank you very much. Even if you're a bot out there, then you're just downloading and, the stats isn't actually, checking whether you're a bot or not. I want to thank you, Mr. Bot, for being programmed to download this.
Downloads is downloads.
Exactly. But no, we've really seen an uptick of downloads over the course of the past year. Thank you very much for checking out the show. We really appreciate it. And at any point in time, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach us mostly on Twitter at Sithwitch is Lauren. I'm at Stargate Pioneer. Haley is at Awesome Engineering Girl, spelled AWSMENGRGRL. I spelled that wrong, didn't I?
No, you spelled it right. You just put the pauses in weird places.
Yeah, okay. So it's Awesome Engineering Girl, and that is our 3 Twitters. Best place to get a hold of us. But if you have to email, you can email me, stargatepioneer@gonnageek.com. And you can also always catch the ladies on Facebook, but you're depending on them to respond to you because as Haley mentioned before, I did something really bad, I guess, and was kicked off of Facebook. Yeah.
We don't even want to talk about it.
It's just, But thank you, everybody, for continuing to give us feedback. We haven't had a lot of feedback the last couple of weeks because, well, life has happened and we haven't had Lauren here. And we're missing Lauren very much. We need Lauren to increase our production value. And so, Lauren, we're looking at you to have you back next week.
Need somebody to find the news. That's what he really meant.
There's that too. And we appreciate everybody that's given us a link to the news. We'll talk about all of it next week.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for listening. Lauren is still planning to do live tweets. So if you participate in those with her, I know she would want us to say thank you. She enjoys having people to bounce things off of. Stargate Pioneer probably knows what night she's doing them now, because I forgot.
It's Monday nights. When we don't have an actual episode,
Okay.
She's doing it on Monday nights. That might change next year because the episode's on Friday nights. I don't know. So just stay tuned. She will be live tweeting the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Friday nights and the Inhumans episodes on Friday nights. Right. But I don't know when we're covering other things what night of the week she'll be doing it. Stay tuned. But it's going to be Monday night until then.
Always in motion, the future is.
Nice pull, Haley. All right. Hey, it's been a fun episode, Haley. I've really enjoyed the past 2 weeks just riffing off you and me, but, we got to get that Lauren back.
Yes, we need our, lab rat? Yeah.
Lab rat Lauren. Yep, exactly. And if you're missing her, you can check out episodes of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Long Box Edition, which will be dropping at least 1, if not 2 a week.
Now's the time when we're going to tell you why Lauren's really not here this week. It's because she saw this episode of Luke Cage and was like, I'm going to put Mike Colder in my shed and do experiments on him.
Yeah, I can totally see that. We'll have to keep an eye on her. And with that, until next time, I'm Director Stargate Pioneer.
And I'm Agent Haley.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2017.